Denver 8 TV, your city, your source.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. I'd like to wish a very special good afternoon to our honored guests here on the dais. First of all, Mayor Hancock, City Council President Mary Beth Sussman, Stephanie O'Malley, who is Executive Director of the Department of Safety, Denver Fire Department Chief Eric Tade, and Executive Director of Denver Arts and Venues, Kent Rice. First, would you all please rise for the Denver Fire Department's Honor Guard to post the colors.
All uniform personnel, present.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now have the national anthem performed by the Denver Municipal Band. Okay, please be seated. I am George Delaney. I'm Denver Public Works Chief Operating Officer and also have the privilege of serving as the implementation manager of the Better Denver Bond program. And as you all know, this is one of the Better Denver Bond projects that we are here to celebrate today. I've had the gratification of seeing the tremendous progress made in delivering many bond improvement projects all across the city. Over 300 projects have been completed across the city of Denver. These projects are improving our quality of life and making our city a better place to live. Today we are recognizing the work that has gone into the planning and the design of this Lowry Fire Station number 18, to acknowledge its importance to the community and to host a ceremonial opening of the station. So to begin, it is my great honor to introduce our very first speaker, the Honorable Denver Mayor Michael B. Hancock. Yes, sir.
Nice beer.
Thanks.
Thank you all, and let me thank George Delaney as well as Jose Cornejo, the Director of Public Works, for taking hold of this project and making sure that it got completed. Will you all join me in thanking our municipal band under the leadership of Jerry Inslee for their wonderful performances here today? Thank you so much. There are a couple of folks I also want to acknowledge the presence of here today. Join me in thanking Councilwoman, and she represents this area on City Council, but she also moonlights as the President of City Council. That would be Council President Mary Beth Sussman. Thank you as well for being here. We certainly have other members of council here. I want to thank Councilwoman Peggy Lehman for being here as well, representing District 4, just south of this area. And I'm sure Councilwoman Sussman wouldn't mind me saying the lady whose dream it was to make sure that this project got built before she retired from the Denver City Council as the former representative for this area, the Honorable Marsha Johnson, all the way back, and her husband Will, who's enjoying her now immensely in retirement. They just returned from Mexico just in time to be a part of this ceremony. You're going to hear from our safety director and our safety director O'Malley and our chief in just a moment. But I also want to recognize our district attorney, Mitch Morrissey, who is here. Thank you, Mitch, for being here. One of our great leaders. Let me say very briefly, we all know the importance of fire stations in our community. This one in particular has been an effort of the city administration, Mayor Hickenlooper's administration, as well as mine from the day I walked in. And I know since '07, Mayor Hickenlooper had worked hard and tirelessly to see that this station was built. We are committed, have always been, and will continue to be committed to response times, particularly the 4-minute time frame of our firefighters. And so to have this station, Station 18, open up today is enormously important and beneficial to this community that has been waiting so long for this station. Secondly, whether they're fighting fires or responding to a non-fire emergency in the area, it's all about safety. It's all about making sure that residents in the area feel and know that the city of Denver and its first responders are ready to perform when called upon. And so this is a tremendous asset to have such professional men and women who will be in this neighborhood ready to go work at a moment's notice. They're known as America's heroes. In Denver, we simply call them our community partners. And we are grateful that Station 18 brings to closer proximity those who live in this Lowry area. Now, others will tell you about the features and equipments of this great station, but I want to share something else that I think is equally important to talk about. In 2007, at the beginning of the recession, although none of us knew to the depths that this recession would take us, the voters of Denver made a very courageous decision, and that was to pass the largest bond in its history to begin to invest in public infrastructure, even as we felt the bottom of the economy falling out. Nearly $8 million of those bonds have been now spent on this station. It supported the land acquisition, the design, and construction of this station. Better Denver bonds, as we came to know them, funded not only the new Lowry Fire Station, but so many other smart investments across the city over the last several years. As part of the Better Denver bond investments, we kept our city on the cutting edge of new facilities like station number 18. They've created jobs. Without question, we've created jobs in the design and construction arenas when no one else was designing anything or building anything. the city of Denver was building, keeping construction companies and design companies afloat. And now that the economy has begun to recover, or has recovered, the private sector has met the city of Denver in the market, and now we have one of the more robust construction economies in the nation. And so I think we owe the people of Denver a tremendous debt of gratitude for the leadership and the courage that they showed in 2007 and said, let's make the right investments even now. And so thank you as well. Because we've never been afraid. We've never been afraid to make investments. We've never been afraid to be innovative and when it comes time for financially sound decisions. And so we are prospering now as one of the top 3 cities in the nation for jobs. We are the top city in the nation for construction. We're the top city, as you know, for small businesses to get started. Number 2 in the nation, according to Forbes magazine as of yesterday. And a lot of that had to do with the very courageous and tough decisions that the people of Denver made in 2007. So today, not only do we celebrate the opening of Station 18, but we also celebrate the courageous and smart decisions of the people of Denver when they voted in 2007. So thank you to all the men and women who are sitting in front of me in blue. Thank you for your courage and for your leadership and for the service to the people of Denver. Thank you all. Okay. And now it's my pleasure to bring up the President of the Denver City Council and representative for this area, the Honorable Mary Beth Sussman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is quite a wonderful day for me and for our whole district. Lowry Air Force Base was named for Francis B. Lowry, who was an aerial photographer and the only pilot from Colorado who was killed in World War II. And he is actually buried at Fairmount Cemetery, just across the way. So Lowry has a rich tradition. Of course, it was a tuberculosis sanatorium before that, and once before, the Denver city gave the property to the Air Force, and it was named for Francis B. Lowry. That's a wonderful legacy, because that man served our country and served it well and made the ultimate sacrifice. And here we have again men and women who are in service to our community. And so it's very exciting for me in the memory of Francis Lowry that we are dedicating this wonderful facility. And it is a wonderful facility. The men and women of this station have actually chosen their colors in honor of the history of Lowry with the design of a red, white, and blue star motif, which I think is very special and carries on the tradition. It's a very important building for our community. I want to thank the Oz Architecture for the beautiful work they did on this building. It fits so well into the character of Denver. It feels like it just grew here organically, and it's just gorgeous. And I'm so proud to have it in my district. I always have this wonderful opportunity to be able to dedicate work done by people that went before me. And of course, this was the dream child and idea of the former city councilwoman, Marcia Johnson. And here I get to stand and have the opening for this facility, but it's all her work and all her very hard work to provide this extra resource for our community that is sorely needed. And we can't thank you enough, Marcia, for bringing this to us. And I am especially thrilled to be able to be here. This was our intimate gathering for the opening of the facility, but I am pleased to announce that Station 18 will host an open house for the community on Saturday, May 3rd, welcoming the neighbors in what they hope will be an annual event, and they will have tours and things of the facility, which will be very nice. I know the community is very excited to have the firehouse here. We're all very excited. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of Safety, also known as Manager of Safety before, but now Executive Director, and my wonderful colleague, Stephanie O'Malley. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I get into my comments, I did want to recognize Earl Peterson, who's also here from the Denver Civil Service Commission, and Cis Mascarenas, who's joining us this afternoon also. So, you know, great things happen when members of the Denver Fire Department show up in their Class A uniform. So I wanted to just acknowledge how well all you ladies and gentlemen look today. When citizens are in need of help, every second counts.
All stations, we're having trouble with our radios. Radios are down right now. We're trying to find an issue or resolution right now, guys. So stand by, all of our radios are down, guys. All stations, please be aware our radios are down right now. We're going to try to get them back up and running.
Well, we know things are working here.
Once again, all stations, radios are down. We'll keep you updated. Time is 14:23.
Okay. Good things are happening. It's working. It's a good thing. With the addition of this new fire station, it will take a third of the time that it took for citizens to receive help than it did before the station was built. In fact, response times into Windsor Gardens will now go down to 2 minutes. That is compared to the 6.5 minutes that it previously took when this area was serviced by more distant fire stations. And that's just not response to fires. Every day, Denver's firefighters assist Denver police and paramedics as they respond to accidents and other emergencies throughout the city. Because of that, this firehouse, Firehouse 18, will serve to improve the overall delivery of safety services to this area. By elevating the level of protection area residents will receive, homeowners will also enjoy lower premiums.
Radios are down. Monitor the Centrex and the rig cell phone. Once again, all stations, radios are down. Please monitor your cell phone.
Okay, I'm going to keep saying what I have to say up here. Back to our homeowners. They will enjoy lower premiums as a result of improved fire risk ratings, adding yet another reason why this new station is such a valuable resource to the community. Thank you to the Denver Fire Department for your service to our community. I'm honored to be a part of today's celebration, and I am proud that because of the collaboration and hard work of the many stakeholders who are announced here today, public safety is now enhanced for the residents, businesses, and community organizations that live, visit, and work in this part of Denver. And now it's my pleasure to reintroduce George Delaney.
Thank you, Stephanie. You've heard many of the major great features of this new facility. Excuse me. I'd like to talk quickly about some of the sustainability that we built in. Mayor Hickenlooper and Mayor Hancock have both indicated or dictated that when we build these new bond facilities, that they be sustainable, that they be LEED gold or LEED silver at a minimum. This facility is LEED silver for sure. We're hoping to get LEED gold certification on it, and as we have with all our other bond buildings. But if you look around, you'll see some of the things that are in this building. Some of it, like added insulation, low flow plumbing, you won't see. But for instance, the daylighting. Notice we face south. Notice how bright and airy this fire station is, and that's to reduce electrical costs, et One of the unique features of this facility is that Station 18 has a ground source heat pump system, that was hard to say, to provide energy efficiency, cooling, and ventilation. So there are literally wells are down into the ground, warming the water that heats and cools this facility. Before, I have the privilege of thanking a lot of the people who were instrumental in the construction, the design, the construction, and completion of this facility. Before I thank those folks, though, I would like to acknowledge the fact that during the construction planning and contracting process of this building, Mr. Kermit Wells was one of the project managers on the project, and he had health complications and passed away during the design phase of this facility. And so I would like to take this moment to honor and remember Mr. Kermit Wells. Many people played a role in getting us to where we are with this new fire station, and I would like to take this opportunity to mention a few of their names. If I miss someone, forgive me. If I mispronounce your name, forgive me. But for Public Works, our city engineer, Leslie Thomas, our portfolio manager, Michael Sheehan, and our traffic engineering service team who helped install the new traffic signal at this intersection out here at Xenia. From our Public Works Finance and Administration team, Barbara Poles, Terry Goodwin, Beth Zolo, and Debbie Gibson, who do all the contract administration. City Attorney's Office, we would like to thank Sean Sullivan and Karen Ovalis for their work, as well as the Department of Finance, Real Estate Division. We'd like to acknowledge Jeff Steinberg, Lisa Lumley, and Bar Chadwick. The Department of Environmental Health was involved in this in helping us to make this a sustainable facility, as well with a heating system, ground source heating system. Thank David Erickson. I'd like to acknowledge Scott Hergenrader and Brett Hennenkamp, who was the project manager for the Denver Better Bond program. This is a beautiful facility, and we do want to give a special thank you to Oz Architecture for their design, particularly Bob West, Paul Trementozzi, Al Morey, and Jeff Nye. And most especially, thank you to Mark Young Construction, who brought this building in on time, on budget. And we want to acknowledge Mr. David Gaida, Rich Jacobs, and Nate Faulkner. They all did a tremendous job in making this facility happen and make it what we see here today. So thank you to you all. With that, I'd like to turn over, yes, let's thank them. With that, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Arts and Venues Executive Director, Kent Rice.
Can you hear me out there? Do you want to hear me? Too bad. Okay. My name's Kent Rice. I am the Executive Director for Arts and Venues for the city. It's the part of the agency that, among other things, oversees the creation of public art, and there is a beautiful example of that on the front of the building. I hope you saw it when you walked in. We have a tremendous public art program here in Denver. It's a point of pride within our agency that the people who came before us 25 years ago passed an ordinance when Mayor Pena was in office that established a 1% for public art program. So every construction project over $1 million gets 1% of that dedicated to public art, which is why I have a few minutes to talk to you today. And by the way, I get to give speeches a fair amount of my job, but the public art part of it is really exciting because it's a lasting tribute to what's going on in our city. Whenever something is built, people will be passing by and seeing the art that's placed there for many years. I'd really like to thank Councilwoman and my friend, Mary Beth Sussman, who served on the panel to get this art commissioned and selected. If you ever get a chance, it's a great civic opportunity, fascinating to see the works of 200 different artists offering up proposals of what it could look like. They take it very seriously as well, the artists do. It's really, really an interesting process. The artist is with us today, Barry Rose. I met you before. Could you raise your hand? There he is. So Barry is not only a renowned artist in his own right, but he served on the city's Commission on Cultural Affairs, so he's been a long time, I would say, public sector supporter for the city and county. This piece out front is terracotta. It's called History and Tradition. He was describing to me how he designed and manufactured as in put it together. Kind of scary for a non-artist, but it's a beautiful, beautiful work. He consulted with people at the Denver Firefighters Museum, and I'm wondering if the two people specifically mentioned might be here today, historian Jerry Michael and the executive director, Wynn Farrell. Are you guys here? All right. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece. And again, if you didn't happen to look up as you entered, please do so as you leave, because it's a real tribute to the people who keep our city safe. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece. Terracotta again, so he had to design it, fire it, cut it up, fire it in a kiln. That's the end of my technical explanation, but if you want to know more about it, he can certainly tell you. Going to the second page, but there's only one sentence, don't worry. Honestly, I just want to thank all of you for showing up. It's a privilege to be in a firehouse. I don't think I've been in one since my kids were little, so I'm kind of excited about that, honestly, because I think firehouses are cool. But mostly, I think we owe a debt of gratitude to the people who serve our city and keep us safe every day. And thank all of you who are here in uniform today for doing that for us. I'd like to now introduce the leader of all of those people, Chief Tate.
Afternoon, and first of all, thank you for coming out and sharing in this special moment with us. It's always a great honor and a sense of pride when you get to open up a fire station in a community, because we know it's going to be far more than just a building that sits out there. Our fire stations are readily adopted into the community, and they become a place where our firefighters spend at least a third of their lives, and the neighbors end up adopting those stations, and they become as much a part of the community as any other house or any well-established business in the community, and they really do become a community asset and not just a public building, but truly a community asset. So for that, I thank you for coming out and participating with us. With that, I've gotten a bunch of questions from the neighborhood, and I wanted to kind of address some of those. And one of those is, why is our station out here called Fire Station 18? I know we have fire stations in the city with a much larger number than 18. And part of that is over the years, when we would construct new firehouses or firehouses would be closed, we just kept numbering in sequential order. And a few years back, the department made it a priority that as we constructed new fire stations, let's go back and pick up the numbers of the stations that were either closed or moved for a better location over the years, so that we don't forget that tradition, and that so our fire stations make sense, so that we don't have no fire station 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And so over the last few years, we've been fortunate enough to go back through and catch the numbers that were missing within our system. And I'm happy to say today, with Station 18 being back in the system, our fire stations are accurately numbered in order, and there are no more missing fire station numbers. So let's give that a round of applause. And the next question is there anything special about this fire station compared to other fire stations? And the answer there is yes. One of the challenges for us that came from Mayor Hancock was, how do we do things smarter? How do we be a more efficient city? How do we deliver services in a better way? How do we make things just go that little extra stretch further when we know there's opportunity to do it? So what we looked at is, why does a fire station just have to be a building that houses the firefighters and the equipment? Can it do something more? So there's a couple of things that we incorporated into this firehouse. First of all, is off the front of this building is a community room. We can use it for training for our classes and education, but we can open that up to the community. So now the Lowry neighborhood, Windsor Gardens, when they're looking for a place to have a community meeting, here's a place right here. It's a city asset. It brings the neighborhood in. It creates tighter bonds between the fire crews and the community, and so we welcome them in. The second thing is training. The fire department has to do a lot of specialized training. Our training center is at 56th and Quebec. It's a long ways away from here. So we looked at it and said, can we make the building actually be an active building versus just a passive building? So you'll find when you go on your tour that many training components were built into this very building. We have manhole covers that drop down into vault areas where we can do confined space training, specialized windows and doors that were put in this building that are designed to be able to be used for forcible entry training. They got down to the point where not only did we have the specialized training, but the very structure that covers our dumpsters out here is actually a training prop. It is actually a slanted roof prop where the firefighters can go out and practice venting roofs. They can practice using roof ladders and anything that we would do on the roof, which surprisingly we're on top of roofs a lot. So I thank Mayor Hancock for giving us that challenge. how to do it better, how to do it smarter. This will make the fire department more efficient. It'll allow the crews here to train more often, and we won't have to drive to 56th and Quebec every time we need to send this crew out to training. So, really happy about that. But again, this is just a building, and it really takes a team to build a building. And so I wanted to acknowledge some of the people on our team that kind of brought this to fruition. But before we even get to the constructing of the building, I know it's been mentioned before, but there's some people that we have to acknowledge, because otherwise this building wouldn't be here today. From the fire department side, I'd like to recognize former Division Chief Robert Tade. He was kind of the leader, the instigator that kept saying we need to build a station. And the guy that was bugging the city council, and at the time, the city councilwoman that got to catch all that was Councilwoman Marcia Johnson. It was really through her leadership that this station became a reality. There were some challenges with getting the land moved over to the city, but she couldn't do it by herself. And I think there's somebody that's a little bit humble up here that isn't taking credit. That was then Councilman Michael Hancock. He was the one that was right behind Marcia saying, it ain't just one council person asking for this, but saying this is a priority. It's not just a priority for one district in Denver, it's a priority for all the city and county of Denver, which has been kind of his message that everyone matters. He proved it when he was a councilman, he proves it as the mayor today. And so for you three, I'd like to really thank you for making sure this became a reality. Now I need to take a minute and acknowledge our team here that worked on bringing this station to fruition. First of all, I want to acknowledge Jessica Skibo. Are you here, Jessica? She's somewhere. Jessica is the person that sounds like a small task, but trust me, this is no small task, was actually responsible for purchasing absolutely everything you could ever need inside of a fire station. And it was her job to make sure it wasn't missed before we got the fire crews in here. It sounds like, oh, what's there, a fire truck, maybe some equipment, but there's spoons, there's forks, there's knives, there's toilet paper, paper towels, pens, pencils, chairs, table, you name it, literally thousands of items. She's the person that got that task, and she did a great job, and the day the crews moved in here, they had the supplies they need, and it's been functioning very smoothly since they got in here. So that's why we call her out. Second, I want to go through our Division Chief, Steve Garrett. He really led the project. His leadership, along with Mark Allen, who's our captain, and I'm going to have all of you guys stand up at once, who's our captain assigned to Technical Services Division. Mark, where are you at? He's hiding over there. Steve, stand up. And Steve Bales, who was the captain that actually started the project, got it going, transferred out into operations during the process. These three really were the workhorses. I'd like to thank our Denver Fire Department line shop. One of the things that helped us keep this project on budget and on time was instead of having to outsource a lot of the construction for the electrical systems, and oh, by the way, the functioning vocal alarm that you guys all heard, that was all installed by our Fire Department line shop, so let's thank our line shop staff. Also, our fire prevention engineers, fortunately for us, we happen to have engineers on staff, so they were able to work on a lot of the design, code modifications, everything that goes into making sure the firehouse meets code, gets through the planning process. Our fire prevention staff, in addition to their regularly assigned duties, stepped up and put a lot of extra hours in doing the plan review for us and doing a lot of design work for us so that we wouldn't have to send that out and subcontract that out too. So thank you to our fire prevention division. I want to thank Sarah Moss and Mark Watson, who are back there on the stairs, for putting this event together today for us. And yes, I'm almost done. I also want to thank the crew of Station 18, led by Captain Charlie Chase, who's right over here. These guys threw a lot of dedication to get the station open, and even open probably before it was even ready. While the crews were still in here constructing this station, they were so dedicated to trying to get the rig down here and serving this community. Even though they had a place, another station they could go to temporarily, they came down here during the day, every day, moving equipment in, building some of the fixtures that are in here, making sure the station was ready to go all day long, and then leaving their rig down here, even though it wasn't the most comfortable place to be here, in those few weeks ahead of time to make sure that the rig was here to service the neighborhood. So their dedication, it does not go without notice, and I appreciate it. Thank you. And we only have a couple more things. One thing I want to make sure is everybody understands is after we get the ceremony, we want everybody to go through, tour the station. The crew's going to be posted throughout the station. ask questions. They want to share the answers with you, but really go through and take a look at all that the station has to offer. Now, in the fire service, we have a tradition. Instead of just coming up and doing a ribbon cutting, we do what we call a hose uncoupling. And that's kind of the symbolic, cut the ribbon, it's open. We bring everybody up, we take 2 sections of hose, we put them together, and then we uncouple them to symbolize the opening of the station. So with that, I'm going to invite the Station 18 crew to come up here on stage. The mayor, president of council, Mary Beth Sussman, and executive director O'Malley, George Delaney, Kent Rice. We'll do an uncoupling. Let's see if we can move this back.
Yeah.
How's that?
How about this?
So as soon as we open this up, Station 18 will be officially open.
Denver 8 TV, your city, your source.